I thought I was in decent shape until I got absolutely destroyed in my first Muay Thai class. My legs were useless for days, my hands felt like they were holding up 50-pound weights, and yet I kept coming back. Muay Thai, also known as the art of 8 limbs, because you use 2 fists, 2 shins, 2 elbows, and 2 knees, and it's all about hurting the other person as much as possible. And it doesn't have any of that slow-paced grappling of jiu-jitsu. Today, I'm going to be talking about my experience training Muay Thai for 30 days as a beginner. I'm going to be sharing with you my expectations versus reality, my challenges, and everything you need to know before your first class. So my expectations going in, I see myself as somebody in pretty decent shape. I surf quite a bit, I work out a decent amount with kettlebells and resistance bands and pull-ups, but I was woefully unprepared for the amount of cardio that goes in on that first class, especially given how hot it is in Thailand. Normally it's in the high 80s Fahrenheit, 30 degrees Celsius. It is cooking in the afternoon. I remember my first class, I was absolutely drenched with sweat. I drank my entire large water bottle. I had to go to the front office, buy another water bottle because it was so hot and I was sweating so much. My heart felt like it was beating out of my chest. But the second I laid down, the instructor told me to get back up so he could hit me in the stomach because he said there was no weakness in Muay Thai. One thing that did surprise me was how friendly the atmosphere was. I didn't think it would be wildly intense, but it was even more of a chill atmosphere than I thought. You had people like laughing and making jokes. You know, instructors are going to be hitting students or kind of pushing students over in a playful way for the ones that they recognize from the previous classes. And given how difficult the cardio side was, one of the things that was surprising was the fact that I could definitely hold my own in terms of the strength training, all the push-ups and sit-ups and stretching that was going on. But the HIIT cardio that comes from 3 minutes of constantly hitting the bag with your pads, that's where I could not keep up. One of the biggest challenges with starting out in Muay Thai is really just building up your cardio. If you gas out in 60 seconds, your punches don't matter. They're not gonna have any power behind them. And trust me, you will gas out. For me, I was also making a ton of beginner mistakes, like not swinging with my hips, bunching up my shoulders, not swing my arm down with the kicks, not bring my hands back to protect myself after a jab. But those are all things you get better with over time. Whereas the cardio is something that you can work on before coming to Thailand and before training Muay Thai in these classes. I remember after my first class, my legs were absolutely wrecked. It felt like I did a 10-hour squat challenge and I just lost. And the calves were definitely the worst because you go up on your toes every time you kick and you're on the balls of your feet most of the time. Your calves are the ones that burn a ton. So even after icing them, I went to get a massage and I was putting on Tiger Balm multiple times a day. I still couldn't go to my second class for at least a couple of days. This is something that I think will always happen as you're getting into Muay Thai, just because your body's not used to the amount of damage you're taking. Once you have a couple classes under your belt, you're gonna just feel sore and you're mostly just feel sore in your calves. And once you warm up with 15 minutes of jumping rope or running, then you won't feel it anymore. The thing you do have to look out for is like the swelling that comes in your shins or the bruising in your toes. That's where you should probably take a couple of days off just to not keep injuring yourself. But yeah, overall, none of these challenges were that significant. You kind of just get over all of them with more practice, more experience, go to more classes. Definitely in the beginning, you need to take more time in between classes to be able to let your body recover. But once you have 4 or 5 classes under your belt, you'll probably be able to go at least 4 or 5 times a week. Here's everything you need to know before your first class. First, bring multiple water bottles. You're gonna run out of water if you only bring a little bit. It's hot, you're sweating, your heart rate's gonna be maxing out, you're gonna be drinking a ton of water, you don't wanna run out. Second, you wanna wear shorts and underwear that you're gonna be able to kick in, so nothing too restrictive. It needs to be flexible and you're gonna wanna have good movement. If you have long hair, you're definitely gonna wanna tie it up. You don't wanna have that swinging all over the place when you're punching or kicking. Now in terms of picking a specific gym, I personally prefer a more old school style of gym where the class sizes tend to be a bit smaller, but you're still building up your cardio. They're gonna give you enough recommendations on your technique. They're still gonna be able to give you good advice on your technique, but you don't really need the access to advanced sparring partners that you'd get at a more commercialized gym like Bang Tao or Tiger Muay Thai or Southside. But if you want to meet more people and have that communal atmosphere, then maybe the bigger gyms are for you. I just find that I prefer a smaller class. Overall, with every gym I've been to, and I've probably been to 8 or 9 different gyms, the vibe is always very friendly. Coaches are going to be really welcoming, and typically when people talk about coaches not being very engaged, it's because they see so many different travelers coming through for a single class. They don't really feel a commitment to them. But if you keep going back to the same gym, they're definitely going to recognize you and give you more attention. If you're worrying about sparring, don't be. Most gyms aren't gonna let you spar in the beginning anyways, and if they are, it's gonna be more about like drilling or doing combos to each other with like 10-20% power. It's extremely light. You're not gonna get any Nate Diaz CTE. You're gonna be fine. Like, one class isn't gonna break you. Even if you get matched up with somebody a lot more experienced with you in sparring, they are not gonna beat you up, as long as they're not Dutch. Instead, they're probably gonna offer you advice, tell you the things you're doing wrong. I remember in my first sparring session, I was absolutely exhausted, and the guy kept telling me to put my hand up because I was letting my hands drop way too low, especially after a jab. I would just bring it back down, and he'd give me just a little hook to remind me like, hey, keep getting your hand back up. And honestly, sparring is my favorite part of Muay Thai. If a gym doesn't spar at all, I'm not gonna be training there, because that just means to me the class is more about cardio. It's only gonna be filled with absolute beginners. In terms of the overall class structure, a group class, typically you're gonna start with warming up, maybe like 5-10 minutes of jumping rope or jumping on a tire, which is a little bit easier than jumping rope, or maybe a little bit of a jog. After a little bit of cardio, probably do a little bit of stretching, do a little bit of shadow boxing, and then you do the wraps. If it's your literal first time, coach will probably take you to the side and show you the basics of what your stance should be, how to move with your feet, how to throw a jab and a cross and a hook and all that good stuff. After that, move into a couple rounds of hitting the bag, probably like 3 to 5 minutes long, as well as they're gonna have instructors going around with pads, having people hit the pads, doing combos on there. After 3 to 6 rounds of that, then you'll move into either a little bit of light sparring or practicing combos on another partner. Probably move into some kind of cool down, 100 knees on the bag or 100 teeps on the bag into push-ups, sit-ups, a little bit more strength conditioning, and then class is gonna be over. If you're in Thailand, definitely give it a shot. Just be ready to sweat a lot.